Afternoon, everybody. If it feels like summer to you, imagine how it feels to a guy who just spent the past few days in Winnipeg and Ottawa where minus 20 was about the mean temperature. And I do mean mean. We have a bunch of different things for you today that are a little bit all over the place. Our special guest today will be Todd Reardon, the Penguins assistant coach. He's responsible for the defense. He is the most candid guy over there. You can ask him a question and get a straight answer, an honest answer about anything at all related to the defense. And today you're going to find out from him the truth, the real reason that Paul Martin is playing as well as he is for the Pens right now. Later in the show, Alan Robinson's going to be checking in from New Orleans, where there's all kinds of fuss today about Ray Lewis and a substance known as deer antler velvet. The Pro Football Talk website right now has this awesome shot of the deer just kind of looking into the camera right now. I guarantee you this poor random deer is going to be a bigger star than anybody on Super Bowl Media Day today. There are all kinds of questions that Ray Lewis is going to have to answer to the 5,000 or so credentialed media that are in New Orleans. Alan will be on to touch base with us on that subject. Later on in the show, we're going to be taking your emails and phone calls at sportstalk@tribweb.com. The phone number is 412-320-7925. Before we get into any of that, I want to ask the question that a lot of Penguins fans have been asking, going right back to when we first heard that the lockout was going to end. And that is, who are the Penguins going to get to skate on a line with Evgeny Malkin and James Neal? Who can they find? Where is this person? What does he look like? Is he in the organization? Is it Eric Tangradi? Is it Bo Bennett? Is it Tyler Kennedy, Matt Cook? Now it's Tanner Glass. We ask this question again and again, and eventually we end up coming to the same conclusion. Well, go with what you got. Eventually Ray Shero will go out and find some super mega star. He'll bring in Jerome McGinley or something at the trading deadline. But that's not really the answer, is it? We keep asking this question again and again and again and again, even though we all of us, the Penguins included, already know the answer. They have the answer. Who was on that line last year? It was Chris Kunitz. When those guys, Malkin and Neal and Kunitz, were on top of their game, they were the league's best line for a minimum of 2 months. They were absolutely dominant 5-on-5. And I'm not just talking about in terms of production. I'm talking about in power play chances created. I'm talking about the pressure that they put on other teams. I'm talking about even before Sidney Crosby's return to the lineup. They were the ones generating all of the offense, even though they were going against opposing teams' checking lines. We have the answer. We know the answer. The answer is to put Chris Kunitz on that line. Why can't we speak the answer? Why does no one want to say it? Well, because Sidney Crosby's on the team. You can't say it. Sidney Crosby has his wingers. He has Kunitz, he has Pascal Dupuis. What if that's the line that's not working? And what if, in turn, you're not seeing much from the second line? If Evgeny Malkin looks a little bit out of sorts, if he's spreading himself, which he is, way too wide on the rink, way too far away from James Neal. Isolate on it tonight if you're at Consol Energy Center watching the Penguins take on the Islanders. Watch 71 drift away from the play. Chris Kunitz was described last season by both Malkin and Neal, and by coaches and other players, as the glue on that line. That's what that means. That player is the one who kind of bridges the gap. When you see Malkin set up James Neal the way he did the other night in Ottawa, when he goes from one side of the rink all the way to the other, and Neal puts that shot in, that one-timer from above the right circle, it's a beautiful thing to watch. But guess what? It doesn't happen very often. it takes a lot to get a pass through 2 or 3 bodies. Malkin, to his credit, pulled it off, but it's a rare play. They need that glue. They need that middleman. They need the guy to make them work. The Penguins have that answer. It's Chris Kunitz. To me, if you have a problem and you address that problem by creating another problem, how many problems do you have now? You got 2. I don't see a first-line winger to play with Sid. That, to me, is the bigger issue. If you're going to look at the solution that the Penguins will have to their problems up front, and they do have them. I mean, this is a team that's not scoring a lot. 5 regulation goals in the last 3 games. They're not generating much in the way on the power play or even getting a lot of power play chances. They need to get the guys going that they know they can get going. To me, Sidney Crosby's going to score with pretty much whoever he's with. He's going to generate power play chances with whoever he's with. If you have a chance to have a super line, or whatever nickname anybody wants, what were we calling them last year? Firing line. That was a good name. If you have a chance to have that firing line back, you have a chance to have Malkin creating all kinds of offense, teams ganging up on that line, teams assigning their best defensive pairing, their best checking line to the Malkin, Neal, and Kunitz line. That in and of itself is going to create more chances for the Sidney Crosby group, no matter who he has on it. Maybe it is Bo Bennett. Sid was saying all kinds of good things about Bennett, the way he performed in training camp, some of the things that he's seen from him. They watched him in the American League. Once he gets his weight back from the flu that he lost, about 20 pounds, maybe he'll be the guy. But when you bring him back, put him with Crosby. And get Kunitz back on the line where he belongs. You don't mess with a good thing. Malkin had 50 goals last season. Neal had 40 goals. You don't mess with that. You find a way to address your other problem, but you leave this one alone in the meantime. And you know what? When the trade deadline comes around, go ahead and find that winger for Sid. Go find Iginla or whatever it is. In the meantime, go with what you know works. That's going to be the priority for the Penguins, I think, really over the next couple of weeks, is finding a way to create some consistent offense. We're talking a lot about their defense. We're talking about different facets of the game. They're not scoring enough goals right now. When they're the Penguins, when they're playing like they are, they need to score goals. They need to create power play chances. That's not happening. And it's not happening against teams that give up really a lot of goals like the Leafs and the Jets. It has to change. That changes by putting Kunitz back where he belongs.